have found the Genesis frequency. This is Dr. Stephen J. Kazmina welcoming you in to another episode of a show that focuses on your whole life prosperity and success. Whole life prosperity and success by cooperating with the universal laws that are available to each and every one of us. This is Quantum Leap Goal Achievement, radical personal transformation, whole life prosperity and success. Now, stay tuned for another exciting episode that'll move the needle in your life from where you are now to where you want to be. And good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time of day it may be, wherever you are in the world. When you hit that play button, so glad you did. This is Dr. Cause and Effect, Dr. Stephen J. Kazmina coming at you. And you're listening to the Genesis Frequency Podcast in our 7th year here. Thank you so much for being a listener, whether it's your first time or your 300th time. Thank you for being in here and chiming in and messaging me and liking and all that stuff that goes along with it in the wonderful world of social media. Appreciate all of that. Appreciate your comments and your reaching out and your appointments and your emails and all of that. I appreciate all of it. I thank you for that. I am profoundly grateful. Tremendous value here. Tremendous value when it comes to personal, professional, and leadership development. So don't dismiss this content because you're getting it for free. You can get more and learn to make those quantum leaps, but man, there's a lot here. I listen to some of these shows just to remind myself. So usually I just turn the mic on and start talking, but that's decades of living what I talk about. So let's dive into it today, this brand new episode. And we're diving into a very powerful, extremely powerful, but yet misunderstood concept that we find in the entire field of personal development, professional development, and leadership development, even spiritual development. It's a word you don't often hear outside of certain circles, but when you understand it, when you apply it, your whole life can shift. So you want to lean in and pay attention here. And that word is praxis, not practice, praxis, Praxis, praxis. Now, I define praxis as very simply the integration of belief with behavior. And why is that important? Because so many people say they believe one thing, yet their behavior tells a completely different story. They say they believe in abundance, but they behave in ways that keep them stuck in scarcity. They say they believe in health, but their habits tell another tale. They say they believe in love, but their actions sometimes contradict the very love they long for. Praxis calls us out on this discontent. It really does. When we start to be aware of this and start to focus on it, it's calling us out. It demands that we look at the gap between what we know and what we actually do, what we believe and what we actually do. So this episode is really going to be, I know I can't get it in, so we're going to call this right here, right now, part one of a two-part series. So today we'll focus on praxis in personal development, how you integrate belief with behavior in your own life, in your purpose, career, finances, and relationships. The next week in part two, we'll take this into the realm of leadership and organizational development. So stay tuned because this is the kind of teaching that can completely transform not only your personal results, but also the culture of any business or team you lead. So again, let's break down praxis. Praxis is the integration of belief with behavior. It's not enough to simply believe something intellectually. It's not enough to talk about your goals or study self-help books endlessly. Praxis means you embody, I mean, truly embody what you claim to believe. You align your actions with your convictions. So, this is the key to moving from theory to transformation. Without praxis, knowledge sits idle. Without praxis, dreams, well, they remain on the piece of paper or in journals. Without praxis, your vision stays simply a wish. Now, I often quote one of my mentors and teachers and coaches, the late great Bob Proctor, and he called this space the knowing doing gap. It's that space between what we know we should do and what we actually do. And every single one of us has experienced it. Even Napoleon Hill wrote, no one is ready for a thing until he believes he can acquire it. But Hill also pointed out that faith without action is dead. So praxis bridges the gap between belief and action. So, how does this look? How does this knowing doing gap look in your everyday life? Let's get real for a moment. You've seen the knowing doing gap in your own life. You know that eating healthy and moving your body will give you more energy. Yet that bag of chips or that last piece of for me, that last piece of chocolate cake seems to always win. You know that setting aside time each week for financial planning would move you toward your goals, yet that Netflix binge takes over. You know that nurturing your marriage or your partnership or that relationship with a significant other requires attention and care. Yet too often, other things, work, gets the better part of your energy. You know you have untapped potential at work or in your business or in the pursuit of your goals and dreams, yet you hesitate, procrastinate, or even talk yourself out of it. That's the knowing doing gap. It's the place where your stated belief and your lived behavior don't line up. And let's be clear. This isn't about guilt or shame. All right? It's about awareness. Awareness, awareness, awareness. Because once you see the gap, you can close it. And closing that gap, well, that's praxis. All right. Now, you often hear me talk about be, do, and have. And I did a couple sessions here recently on order and order being heaven first law. And um, let's go back to that because that really plays an important part here. It's one of the most important frameworks, really, that I teach. And it's central to today's episode. And it's that order of be, do, have. And as I always say, most people have it backwards. They think if I have more money, then I'll do the things I want, and then I'll be happy and fulfilled. Or if I have the perfect relationship, then I'll do more loving things, and then I'll be a loving partner. And that kind of order never works. The correct order is be, do, have. So first you must be the person in belief and identity. That's what embodying means, right? Be the person in belief and identity. You must embody the state of being you want to live from. We talk about that a lot on this show. I talk a lot about that with clients and with companies, corporations, and ministries. You must first be. So for instance, if you are first being this, you want to be something and you live from it. Well, then you'll more naturally you'll take action in alignment with that state. And when you take action in alignment with the state of what you are being in belief and identity, well, then you'll have the results the outcomes, the manifestations, the showing up of what you want to experience in your life. So praxis is what keeps this order intact. It really is. If you claim to believe in abundance, for instance, you must first be abundant in your thinking and identity. I talk so much about this, and so many people don't get this. You have to be aware of it so you can make the shift. You have to be abundant in your thinking and identity. Then your actions, your spending, saving, giving, investing must align with that belief. So you can't just talk it, you can't just affirm it and then step out and you're doing something counter to what you say you're I believe in abundance. You have to align so you will have the experience of abundance because that's what you want anyway. If you believe in health, you must be healthy in your identity first. Then your choices in food, rest, and exercise follow, and then you will have the vitality. If you believe in love, you must be loving in your thoughts and self concept first. Then your words and your actions fall in line. Your words and your actions towards others follow. And then you'll have loving relationships. Belief without behavior is wishful thinking. It really is. Behavior without belief is unsustainable. Praxis integrates the two in the right order. And there's a lot of work we can do to help you to become aware of it and help you to make some adjustments in this in your life. All right, let me tell you a little story. Years ago, I worked with someone who insisted they believed in health. They read every book, just loved to read every book on health and nutrition, watched documentaries, watched all the YouTube videos, talked passionately about plant-based eating, and even posted health tips on social media. But in reality, their daily choices were out of alignment. They skipped workouts. They ate fast food all the time late at night and ignored their own fatigue. Now, this is not judgment, it's an observation of the knowing doing gap. The turning point came when they shifted from knowing to being. They had all the knowledge, right? They began to affirm, I am healthy. I am a healthy person. I am vibrant. I am someone who honors my body and other affirmations and moved into claiming that identity. That identity shift began to drive behavior. Soon they were meal prepping, prioritizing rest, and exercising with joy instead of dread. That is praxis. Belief integrated with behavior, identity aligned with action. Here's another example. A client of mine once said, "Hey, I believe in abundance." They quoted the book, the teachers, they had all the affirmations, but in practice, man, they hoarded money. They feared, I mean, feared every expense and constantly said, which is really an affirmation, I can't afford it. I can't afford it. That's not abundance. That's scarcity consciousness. That's lack and limitation consciousness dressed in spiritual clothes. So, through our work together, they began to embody abundance first, affirming their worth, shifting their language, being mindful of their language, and blessing every dollar that came in and went out. Their actions shifted. They began to invest in themselves, to give generously, and manage their money with confidence. The result increased income, reduced stress, and a sense of partnership with the flow of life. Again, that is praxis. So why then is praxis so hard? And I've been doing this for a long time, and this is difficult. And the reason is because beliefs aren't just intellectual ideas. They live deeply rooted in the subconscious mind. A lot of them we don't even realize that that we have some of these beliefs. That's why I start out with everyone. Let's examine your beliefs. Why do you believe it? Where did you came from? Why are you holding on to this belief? For instance, you can consciously say, I believe in success. But if your subconscious holds old programming, maybe that you're not worthy or that success is only for others, then your behavior will default to the deeper belief. That's why we must examine not only what we say we believe, but what we actually behave. What is our behavior? And we have to adjust that as though we believe. Very, very important work. Bob Proctor often said, you don't get results by what you know, you get results by what you do. And what you do is determined by your paradigm. And a paradigm, again, is a multitude of habits that have almost exclusive control of our habitual behavior. And almost all of our behavior, all of our habits, I should say, are habitual. I mean, all of our all our behavior is driven by habits because we are driven by those habits. We are creatures of habits. So praxis is how you consciously upgrade your paradigm by aligning new belief with consistent new behavior. And, if you don't, there's a cost to this. Here's the truth. Living out of alignment is exhausting. Believe me, I know. Saying one thing and doing another drains energy. It creates cognitive dissonance. You feel split inside. But when belief and behavior line up, well, there's power. You feel congruent. You feel confident. You move with clarity. Leaders call this authenticity. Psychologists call it integrity. In spiritual language, it's wholeness, self awareness. In personal development, we call it praxis. So here's I like to give you something that will help you, and here's a takeaway for you. Let me ask you, and I really, really, really want you to think about this. Where in your life are you saying one thing but doing another? What do you claim to believe about your purpose, your career, your finances, your relationships, your health, your physical fitness, but your actions tell another story? Really think about these things, examine them. What would it look like? Another question, what would it look like for you to close that gap when you answer these questions? What would it look like if you did that? What would it look like to actually be what you say you believe, to do from that place, and then to have the results? So take a moment with those questions. Go back, listen to this, play it again and again and again so you get it. Repetition is the key to retention. Take a moment with the questions, write them down later because and examine them and work with them. Schedule an appointment in your planner to work with these questions. Make that part of your quiet time and really examine and be honest with yourself because self-honesty is the starting point of praxis. So here's a few other voices just to as we move to wrap this thing up today. Napoleon Hill, he said, no one is ready for a thing until he believes he can acquire it. So you have to have that belief in what you have set for yourself as your aspiration, your desire, your goal, your dream, right? But you got to believe. And then you got to line up with that belief and take your actions from that place of becoming it first. Ralph Waldo Emerson said, what you are, shout so loudly in my ears, I cannot hear what you say. Michael Bernard Beckwith, you attract the kind of person you are, not the kind of person you want. Powerful. And then Bob Proctor again, leave everyone with the impression of increase. But you can only do You can only do that, he says, when your inner world and your outer world are aligned. So we want to be that person of increase, but we have to not do it grudgingly, is what he's saying here. We have to live in that abundant place within and then give from that place with joy. These voices all point to the same truth. All these quotes. It's who you are, not just what you say, that creates your life. So again, this is part one. Today we focused on praxis in personal development, how to align your beliefs and behaviors in your own life vision. And I can help you with all of this. So reach out to me. But next week in part two, we'll take this into leadership and organizations. Because here's the thing, if you, as a leader, say you value trust but behave in secrecy, your team's going to feel out of misalignment. They're going to feel that misalignment. They're going to sense that energy about you. If you say you believe in innovation but punish mistakes, the culture feels that contradiction. Praxis matters not just personally, but collectively. This has a tremendous impact and influence on the corporate culture. So be sure to tune in next week for the Power of Praxis, Part 2, Leadership and Organizational Development. So before we wrap it up today, let me ask you, where is your knowing doing gap costing you the most right now? Is it in your career, your finances, your health, your relationship, your goal achievement? Here's the good news. You don't have to close that gap alone. This is the work I do every day with individuals, companies, corporations, businesses, entrepreneurs just like you. I help them uncover the beliefs that no longer serve you. Help you replace them with empowering truths and align your belief with your behavior so you can finally have the results that you want. So here's my invitation again. Connect with me. Reach out, send me a message, and let's talk. If you're serious about moving forward, book a clarity call. Successappointment.com gets you on my calendar. Successappointment, all one word, .com gets you my calendar. Stephen, Stephen, at successocean.com is my email. And you can go to the website, successocean.com, which is being upgraded, but there's forms there to fill out to identify what's going on in your world. You can go to the genesisfrequency.com, forms there to fill out. Let me know what's going on. I read all the stuff that comes in. So reach out with me. It's simple. It's personal. Let's book a clarity call. And it might just be the turning point that you've been waiting for in your life, in your small business, in your corporation, in your ministry. You know why? Because Praxis is not about information. It's about transformation. And the time is always now. So that's going to do it. We're going to wrap it up for today. You have been listening to the Genesis Frequency podcast with yours truly, Dr. Cause and Effect, Dr. Stephen J. Kuzmina. That's me, and I wish for you an infinitely spectacular day. God bless you.